So why a bug bounty program? Why use that over pen testing, for instance? Well, we do 70 code releases a day. A pen test just simply couldn't keep up with that. So having continuous testing really does kind of help us. Well, when you're doing 70 code releases a day, you're not going to get it right every single time. So we have to be lucky with every code release, and they only need to be lucky once. So, well, if that's the case, what about pen testing? Does pen testing still have a place in the industry? Yes, categorically. It really, really does. Big piece of advice: if you're going to go down the route of a bug bounty program, still consider using pen testing. And the reason being is if you're going to do a big migration to a new feature or anything like that, have it pen tested, because several P1s or 2s are going to cost you probably more than getting a simple pen test done. So there's a place for both. It's not one or the other. The other thing that it can't do is, let me give you an example of a mobile phone app. If I don't receive any vulnerabilities for that, does that mean that my app's really, really secure and that there's no vulnerabilities, or does it mean that it's untested? I can't tell you. I don't know. So just recently we had to go out and get a mobile app pen test for that very reason. Turns out there wasn't any issues. That's why we didn't receive any reports. So, who uses bug bounties? Well, all the big boys. So the usuals: Microsoft, Twitter, Uber, Facebook, and they've got some really nice big bounties to pay, like $250,000. Like, who wouldn't take that? So small guys do as well. Fanduel, obviously, we do it, but all these guys, Starbucks, Pinterest, MasterCard, they probably shouldn't be in the small guys. They're big. But in terms of their payouts, I'm not sure what their payouts are, but they're not on the same sort of scale as Microsoft, so that's why they've been lumbered in with us a lot. So, the legend that is John McAfee. Yeah, this guy. So yesterday he came out talking about his new crypto wallet, and basically said, yeah, no, it is completely unhackable. Don't imagine that it's not. Like, we'll even put money up and say, yeah, it's not. And if you can't hack it, we'll give you $100,000. So the best of it is money walks and bullshit walks. Thanks for that, John. Appreciate that. That was just yesterday. Great timing for it to not. Private programs, what do they allow you to do? Well, they're really designed so that you can kind of walk before you can run. So your researchers, they're by invite only. It allows you to start with a really kind of small, focused scope. It's not publicly advertised. One of the best pieces about this is it actually allows you to work out where your internal processes fail, because it's not the technology that's going to fail, it's your processes of how do I get this fixed now that I know about it. So really interesting seeing where the processes fall down. So yeah, really great. The other piece is that it really allows you to kind of build your program and get a name for having a really good program amongst the researchers. So yeah, don't just think you can go public straight away. I really wouldn't recommend it. Go private first. Public programs is the exact opposite. It's publicly advertised, open to all researchers, but it's a public statement as well of saying, do you know what, we take security seriously at this company, and we're willing to put our money where our mouth is and say, come and help us, because we're not going to get it right every single time. Well, what's the risks? What's the risks of a bug bounty program? Well, there's always that guy. So this guy, Hamid Kali, this is one of his reports. He's apparently, according to him, the biggest hacker in Egypt. He also hacked ISIS with his friend, and they're really, really dangerous, and you're not to trust them. Okay, so why am I to trust you now? So, yeah. I guess the biggest other risk is really around public disclosure. And this is one of the big kind of pushbacks that you get a lot in management of, well, what's to prevent them just going public? Well, that risk lives whether you're running a program or whether you're not. Doesn't matter either way. That risk stays the same. But at least this way, I can make it worth your while to come and report it to me. financially worth your while. So there are researchers literally making their living out of reporting bugs to people. That's great. The programs, so the likes of Synac, BugCrowd, HackerOne, they all take this stuff really, really seriously. It's really frowned upon to just start going public and stuff. So BugCrowd's stance, and I can only speak to them because that's who we use, that improper disclosure can result in the researcher being removed from a program and can even result in being removed from the whole platform. So they do take this stuff seriously, and they are in constant contact with us. We have monthly meetings catching up on all our reports, and we've got a great guy on our program called Edis. He's really on the ball when it comes to reviewing every single case and the behaviour of all our researchers. So, and my behaviour too. What makes a great program? Categorically has to be communication. If you can't communicate with your researchers, you're not going to get on well. The programs are going to nobody's going to want to work with you. Simple as that. So have great communication. Have a really wide scope. That's key. If you say, I only want you to test this one IP for me, well, okay. How many researchers can do that and then find a vulnerability every single day? You need to have a really wide program. Let your API be exposed, things like that. Have them test it, because you're not going to get it right. So work with them. Genuinely, biggest piece of advice would be treating researchers as an extension of your security team. Get to know them, go talk to them, find out about their families, not so you can go and hunt them down. Genuinely just get to know them, take pride over them, you know, like they're working with you and for you, so yeah, get to know them. We've got a guy on our program, Justin Kennedy. Now, when I last checked, he was 6th in the world on the BugCrowd program, so he really knows his stuff. But genuinely good guy as well. So he's saying that he's had a great working experience with us due to our communication and transparency. And we really have to be, because I don't get it right, and I have to just hold my hands up and say, do you know what, I got it wrong. So, like, here's 50 quid. You know, define your scope, right? This is really, really key, right? You really want people just hitting the things you want them to hit, not just going and shooting anything and everything that they can. So make it really wide but targeted as well. So, yeah, I probably would kill Iggle Piggle. If you've had to watch more than 3 episodes, you'll probably understand. As I did at 3, I've had to watch way too many. Again, around your scope, provide the API documentation. Obviously not all of it, like provide some. So document how your architecture hangs together, why it's like that. It's not just me that's saying this. This is our researchers that are telling us, like, you can do better here. You know, and that's the great thing about working closely with them, is that rather than just, well, yeah, thanks for your report, it can be a genuinely good relationship where they can openly come to you on Twitter and say, do you know what, if you did this, I've got more chance of finding stuff for you. And that's what it's about. That's why we're here, to make things better and safer, both for our users and for our staff, you know. So yeah, absolutely, just go out your way to help with this stuff. One of the things this guy also was talking to me just last night about was we use geolocation filtering. He was saying, well, why not provide a VPN so that these guys can jump through it if they're not in the states that we allow in the US? Well, why not? So I'm going to be looking at doing that. What makes a bad program? And I've had umpteen of this. Slow responses. I've genuinely experienced kind of 6-9 months just to get a response of, yeah, that's a vulnerability, thanks. Like, come on, how long did it take you to triage that? So Poor communication, again, there's just no real need for it. Like, it goes back to treating your researchers as part of your security team. The other one that's a real bugbear for me is that's not a vulnerability, that's a misconfiguration. Well, misconfigurations don't get CVEs, so it's a vulnerability, but there we go. Things that are usually considered fair game, even if you've not put them in your scope, is things like GitHub, S3 buckets, Atlassian, Trello, and Jenkins, largely because they're public services. So if you've screwed up somehow and made something public, that information is available not just to, well, hackers, but to everybody else. So anybody could go after you. So yeah, at least thank a researcher for saying this is a problem and you've got it out there. Close it down, thank them, pay them. Generally is considered fair game. So if it's fair game, how do I prevent that? Well, that starts with go hunting. Go find it yourself before they do. You should really be doing it as part of your program anyway. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot more. I'm genuinely of the belief that I don't think you can defend as well if you can attack at the same time. If you learn how to attack, you can be a far better defender. So yeah. A couple of ideas of how to go hunting. Google Docs, looking for Trello boards. This was quite a recent one that came out, largely because Trello boards seem to have a lot of passwords and usernames. So, yay! Sublisters are a really good one for going to find kind of subdomains for things you didn't actually know were out there. Now, top tip trick. Couple that with looking for S3 buckets. The number of S3 buckets that are actually the name of subdomains is phenomenal, and it works a treat. So, top tip. There you go. You can have that one for free. If you're hiding behind Cloudflare, well, can I get your real IP address? Go have a look. Use that. Keep your program interesting. Keep your researchers coming back. So things like that, double bounty weekends. Everybody loves extra cash. It incentivizes me to come and have a look at your program and play. If you're going to release new features, so for instance we're about to do MFA, and we'll probably shout out to our researchers and say, well, tell you what, we'll do a bonus. We'll give you 1.5 times the normal bonus if you find a vulnerability specifically around the MFA piece. Have calls with your researchers. Let them see who you are, not just names behind a keyboard. Things like that. We're in talks with BugCrowd at the moment to look at having professionals within BugCrowd and other security researchers come in and provide workshops to other researchers as well, but using our offices. I just think that would be a lot of fun. You know, if nothing else, I just think it would be a lot of fun. So. Hacking weekends. Now, Department of Defence, I believe they basically kind of went to their program and said, we want to have a hacking weekend with some of your top researchers, and we've booked out this really nice big villa, and it's got a swimming pool, so let's just have a nice big party. That sounds like fun to me. So, yeah, trying to convince the CTO of that one. Not going so well, but we'll try. Things not to do. Do not lawyer up. Do not start asking your researchers, oh, we need you to sign an affidavit. If you start doing that, no one's going to want to work with you. Simple as that. And don't hide behind your scope. So just because your scope is really, really small or whatever, if a vulnerability exists elsewhere, it's still a vulnerability. It doesn't change. So thank the researcher, chuck them a few quid. Nice. Yeah, don't pay bribes either. So allegedly, see what I did there? Uber, they basically paid for a bribe to have the researcher go and delete a bunch of data that they'd stolen. So rather than just kind of saying I found a vulnerability, they literally took the 57 million users and exposed it, and then took a bribe to go and delete it. yeah, don't do that. Not as a researcher or as a program. So, some of the favourites from my research is finding a vulnerability in a vulnerability scanner. I just love the irony of that one. And a vulnerability in a network intrusion detection system. Again, the irony. Connecting to a network switch over telnet and admin. Come on, it's 2018. Like admin and no password onto a network switch. Like, thank you. First ever cross-site scripting was with Nespresso, and first ever paid bounty was Twitter. So they'll always stand out for me. Some funnies from my research. Liam, you have my attention. What have you found? I just think that's a great response to come back with. So, following on from your cross-site scripting vulnerability on our website, we've decided to decommission it altogether. Can't hack it if it's not online. Just genius. Just genius. So this one, we're going to declare it as a mythical phone company. Right? We didn't end on the best of terms over this one, but so we're going to call this mythical phone company 20. And so we found a cross-site scripting vulnerability on this one. So you'll see here that basically we're using single quotes. Report it to them. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, we'll go fix that. Oh, we fixed it. Can you retest it for us? Yeah, sure, no problem. Oh, look, we'll change it to double quotes. Same vulnerability. Oh, thanks very much for that. We'll go away. We'll fix it. Oh, we fixed it. Can you retest it? Yep, sure, no problem. Slanty quote. So, yeah. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask your researchers to retest stuff, especially if you're going to go down the blacklisting route, as you can see. It doesn't always work, so get them to retest it. So, yeah, that's all. Any questions? Use one.
If you're a company looking to engage with researchers, and you're hosting in something like Azure or AWS,
yep.
They have pretty stringent controls about telling them when you're going to test the stuff you have in there. So how does that work with a program when they're at any time 24/7?
So we're entirely AWS. We don't use tenant whatsoever, and so far Amazon seem to be fine with it. We've told them that we're doing it, and fortunately their security guys are some of the best in the industry, so they get it. So yeah, they seem to be okay with it. We, funnily enough, don't allow DDoS attacks in our program, so Amazon are a bit more lenient on that side. So.
And that applies for like PaaS type services where you're using their infrastructure rather than building your own with an IaaS?
Don't know. Speak to them. Don't know. So.
Just from in terms of if you're going to set up a bug bounty program, what would you recommend is sort of the bare minimum in terms of security maturity before you set one up? Because I guess if you are an organization that doesn't have an AppSec program and you open up a bug bounty program, you can probably bankrupt yourself pretty quickly paying out P1s. What would you, as a reasonable baseline before you're going to spin up that kind of program, where would you think a company should be?
I categorically you have to be doing web app scanning at a bare minimum. You know, I wouldn't even suggest thinking about going out there without app scanning. So that plus your standard infrastructure scanning, and the other one is going to let your blue team going to have a play. You know, like get them to go and find the stuff as well. You know, get a quick pen test, get a rough idea where you're sitting, stuff like that, and then look to move forward. And just go slow. Don't rush into it. Don't just go straight public. You will bounce it. Yeah, don't do that. So yeah.
How do you calculate how much you're going to pay out of specific vulnerability?
don't count on being awesome. Okay, so that's the first start. Don't think you're not going to be paying out, because you are. To give you an idea, in the last year we've paid out around about 15,000. So I guess depending on the size of your app and stuff like that, how do you calculate it? It's a good question, but over calculate to start with. So you know what, 20 grand's going to get you a long way. Like the other piece of it as well is that there are grades of vulnerability. Okay, so you've got your P4s through your P1s, and so for a P4 for us we'll pay out $100. For a P1 we're paying out 2,000. Very quickly, when you start doing double bounties and you've got 20 grand pot, if you're doing double bounties with P1s, you're going to run out very quickly. So maybe don't run into doing things like that, but just take it really slow. And a lot of these programs are really good at being able to kind of help you calculate that as well. So like, they want to help you get the best out of your program as well. They want your money too, because if it's sitting in their account, they're making interest in it. So yeah, things like that.
You talked about internal processes being like an impact when you start a private program, like to start a private program before starting a public one, because so you can test like your internal processes. Which did Fanduel have any problems when they started? Like was it communicating with engineering teams, or what was?
I'll be really honest. P1s and 2s, everybody just gets it and everybody's on board. P3s and 4s, I kind of have to fight for. You've got to remember, Fanduel also have a security team of 1. Hi. Well, I say that, on technical security there's 1, and then there's my manager, and there's Jill in our risk, and she's phenomenal, but she's not technical, and that's fine. But, yeah, does that answer it?
I think maybe your last slides answered this question a bit, but are these bug bounty programs, do they help the development and testing, like in-house development and testing life cycle? And are the developers learning from these and developing more robust programs?
Yeah, they can do, and they like, remember that is a software as a service. So these guys want to get you the most out of your program. So like, you can throw them a couple of extra bones, and they will help you and your developers. They'll literally come into you and start running workshops of this is how you test for X, Y, or Z, if you want them to. Now, they're not going to just do that for free. Everything comes at a cost, right? But they will help you along that piece. Also look at other third parties. Go and see what other researchers are doing. The basics, to like send your staff on web app security testing. SANS do some great stuff. 542, 642, and 7safe do some other really great stuff as well. Yeah, does that help? Sorry? Yeah. So in the year that I've been at Fanduel, I've seen a big shift in their attitude towards security. Now, that's not to say that they didn't care before, because they really did. And a lot of them are tinfoil hat wearers, stuff like that, you know. But they're not specialists in security, and we can't expect everybody to know everything about everything. So it's about ensuring that we work as a team and we build each other. So, yeah.
I mean, a bit of a follow-on from me on that. How have you, or what mechanisms have you used to engage with your engineering teams? Because I've been through the same pain that you're going through, and working with the researchers, that stuff's great. But I think one of the difficult things is, rather than just chucking stuff over the fence for engineering teams to fix, what ways have you engaged with them to try and get them on your journey?
Try and befriend them to start with, you know. Try and get them on side. I think the biggest piece as well is try and work with your with your developers, so that they understand that you're not out there to get them. You don't think that they're an idiot. That we're all in this together. You know, it's not on them. I'm not coming beating you with a bat. It's as simple as that. It's about working together to achieve a goal together.
How do you? I mean, one of the things I found really difficult was, I had this exact question from an engineer a couple of years ago, was why is that security bug any more important than a functional bug that's in my sprint to fix because it's costing the company money?
Yep.
Again, how do you work to make sure that they understand that it's as important as?
I'm going to give you an example of what I did with one. There was one developer who really argued that this cross-site scripting wasn't an issue, so we just redirected him to our competitor. Now, is it a problem? Well, actually, yeah. Okay, and for him that was a pin drop one, you know, and he really just grasped it. So it really is just sit down with them, walk them through it, and show them why. You know, it goes back to we can't expect everybody to know everything. So just like slow it down, take it back to the basics, and go through it together. Work together.
I suppose it's an amalgamation of the last two questions. Since you yourself, you started to see some metrics and stuff that the folk at the top love to see. You know, the metrics of you did this for this particular program, this particular app, whatever, and it go down vulnerabilities by X.
Yep.
And in that sense, rolling into an open V7 type program, using that kind of stuff. In that sense, you're maturing your whole cycle model.
Yep.
So you start to see that kind of stuff come out.
Yep. And
to the folks.
And the program generally provides a platform to do that level of reporting because, yeah, absolutely, managers love metrics and nice pretty pie charts. So they deliver all that, and that's part of the software as a service program. And it's really nice to be able to trend that as well, and to say, yeah, we are making a difference, and it's not costing us an arm and a leg.
So you talked about engineering challenges there and how you kind of work on your own first-party product, but you also talked about third-party products. Now the problem that we face with third-party products, and probably everybody in the room who's in that organisation, is you may have non-technical people consuming those and producing, in the case of Trello boards, in the case of Typeform that we saw a couple of weeks ago, you know, surveys. How do you deal with the kickback to that? Because that can sometimes be even harder than just talking to engineers.
I see that on both sides of being on the program side and as a researcher, because your report doesn't always end up in the right hands, and occasionally you just have to kind of push and say, I'm really sorry, I really am that you're not getting this. I really need to just speak to somebody that can actually grasp this on a technical level, and just like, you're not trying to put them down, you're just saying, look, I really need to get somebody that can actually understand what it is that I'm telling, and that's absolutely fine. I'm sure you're really great at sales and marketing, but I need this to end up in the hands of an engineer that understands what this vulnerability means. But don't be an ass about it. Just be really nice about it.
Take the toys away.
Sorry?
Take the toys away sometimes.
Yeah.
Any more for any more? No? Cool, excellent. Can we give Liam a round of applause?